It is my ongoing goal to be able to support you as the very best way that I can. And in order to do that, I really need to get to know you a little bit better, what your personal needs are for supporting you as a parent on this journey of children with autism, and with your child, what their needs are and what you would like to help them most with. Because there may be many things, but there's usually a few top pieces that are very, very important to you that you know your child is really struggling with and you would like help with. And so in order to find out how I can support you best, I have created a short quiz. It's at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/quiz. And if you take that short quiz, you'll be able to give me some information and I'll get back to you with some results and how I can direct you to the resources that I feel would help you best right now for where you are on this journey and for what you need for your particular specific child's needs. So I hope it's helpful. Again, go to naturallyrecoveringautism.com/quiz. Today, I want to give you some tips to help reduce anxiousness while you're traveling with your child with autism, because I know that traveling in general can be stressful on children, and there are a lot of different reasons why. But when a child has autism, they tend to have higher sensory overload issues, a lot more anxiousness. They might have some obsessive compulsive disorders. And when you change their routine, that can be very challenging for them. So even setting it up ahead of time, telling them, having a conversation, we're going to be traveling, and telling them, I remember I was told this with my son way back when, tell your child exactly what's going to happen so that they have less anxiousness about their routine being disrupted, and because they feel more in control about knowing what things are to come, like what the plan is, what you're going to do, how this day is going to go, or the next hour. First, we're going to get in the car and we're going to drive to, and then just give them a little bit of a plan and let them know what's going to be happening. So there are some other travel issues that come up, like car and air sickness. And I am going to link in today's show notes to some homeopathic remedies that you can buy over the counter. Most regular local drugstores even carry some of these, and definitely health food stores carry them. You could get some of those online. Boiron, Boiron, is a company that carries some really good ones. And so is Hylands, Hylands. And again, I'll link to a couple. I use the Hylands homeopathic motion sickness sublingual melting pills for my kids. You drop them underneath their tongue or in their mouth, and they dissolve in seconds. There's no waiting time period or chewing. The Hylands are really made well for children. They have ones for earaches and coughs, but the motion sickness ones, when we were traveling, especially when we were going places with windy roads, they were a godsend. So I wanted to share that with you. They can be used again for any type, whether you're on a boat or a car or in an airplane, but can help calm as well. If you rub the earlobes, both of them, just up and down the outer edge of the ear, it stimulates some acupressure points there that have a lot to do with calming our system down. So it's really nice to be able to do that anytime that you or your child feels stressed, to help calm the system down. So you can teach that to your child or do it to them, but tell them if you do it to them and for you to do it to yourself. Again, my background as a craniosacral therapist comes in here. You really, really want to be gentle with the ears. You don't want to be yanking on them or tugging on them. You want to just be rubbing the earlobes and then up and down the top portion of the ear on the outside there. And it really does help to kind of stimulate those acupressure points, which create a lot of calming. Whenever you're in an airplane, you're ascending or descending in an airplane, there is internal pressure that's put on the ears. We've all been on planes where we hear, children, especially infants, and the younger they are, the worse it is. Hear them just screaming when the plane's taking off or when it's landing. And that's because that internal pressure on the ears is getting really painful. And children are really, really sensitive to this. And I know children with autism, even older children, can be really sensitive to this as well. I like to even usually be sipping water myself. So I suggest you do that with your child and yourself as well, or anything that you can suck on that keeps you swallowing, because when we swallow, we open up our ears. So it helps them to release. So I will also link in the show notes to some xylitol lollipops, ones that are healthy. They don't have any artificial food dyes or colorings or anything like that. And xylitol does not affect the glycemic index. So it's a natural source of a sweetener, and it actually helps the teeth to fight bacteria in the mouth. So it's actually a positive food, but they're sweet. They taste like candy, and they make lollipops. And the lollipops in this particular company I'm linking to is a better quality one. Again, there are no food dyes in theirs as well. Many of the other ones on the web or things you'll find places will have food dyes, which you really want to stay away from. So these xylitol lollipops I'll link to they're healthy and natural. They help the teeth, but by sucking on them when you're driving or in a car, or you're on a boat, or again for air travel, especially during takeoff and landing, then it's really, really helpful to be sucking on these lollipops, or at least sipping some water, something that can keep you swallowing and keep your child swallowing, so that you can then have the ears stay open. And again, I mentioned for more anxiousness tips, besides rubbing on the outer portion of the earlobes or the lower earlobes for calming, there's CBD oil that is, it doesn't have any of the THC in it or anything like that. So it's just regular CBD oil. And I have a very high quality one that I will link to in the show notes. And the company even offered me a discount code to share with you that I will link to in the show notes as well. But CBD oil can be very, very helpful for calming. So you can use that, of course, at home any time of day or evening. A CBD can be used multiple times a day. It's great for travel, though, for calming as well. It's liquid. You can drop it into your child's right into their mouth. And the oil drops right in there. And you usually can work pretty quickly. If they don't want it right in their mouth, you can put a couple drops in a little bit of water and have them sip the water, whatever's easiest for you to get it in them. But it is very nice, a very helpful way to calm. I'll also link to Highland's Homeopathic Calm Sublingual Melting Pills. They are also something that I've used in the past. If you're having trouble finding CBD oil, or it's liquid, it does come in a smaller than a 3 ounce, as we're allowed now through TSA on the air travel. They come in small bottles that you can carry on. But if you want something that's not in a liquid form, then these Highlands Homeopathic Calm Sublingual Melting Pills can also be really, really helpful. I want you to remember that certain foods and chemicals will make anxiety much, much worse. So do your best to avoid gluten and casein, which are the proteins in dairy and wheat, monosodium glutamate, MSG, aspartame, which is the artificial sweetener. It's very, very toxic. MSG and aspartame are really known to cause a lot of anger issues as well. I mentioned food dyes. Stay away from those as well. They're very, very chemically based and can be very harmful to the health and cause a lot of issues. Red is known to cause anger. Yellow FD&C dyes known to contain lead. And these are legal amounts in these products too. So stay away from those because they can increase behavioral symptoms, allergic reactions. There's, of course, sugar. You want to stay away from sugar. So there are some really important things to remember there as well. I will link to I've done a podcast in the past, and I'll link to it on the at-home allergy kits. And they're helpful to naturally and safely desensitize your child to certain, of course, toxins and foods that they may be having allergic reactions to. And we often think of allergic reactions as some type of a physical reaction, whether they're coughing or sneezing or get a rash. But behavioral increases are very, very much linked to allergic reactions in the body. So there are vials that you can purchase. You can purchase a kit that covers a lot of the basics, especially the autism allergy kit, or you can purchase individual vials. And there's one for anxiety, there's one for OCD, there's one for anger, one for fear. So these can be really helpful and super simple to do yourself. You can listen to my interview that I did with the owner, the naturopathic doctor. Her name is Inga, and I'll link to that in today's show notes as well, because I have interviewed her in the past, and I have a link directly to her website for those as well. I want to make sure that you're understanding too, anytime you're traveling, especially, we tend to get dehydrated. Keep your child well hydrated. Again, I've talked about this in a past episode, but you want to avoid plastic bottles that have BPA, bisphenol A, the toxic ingredient in them, in the plastics, especially if they're sitting in heat. They tend to allow the heat expands the plastic and releases that toxin into the liquid in the bottle. So your water bottle can get toxic. You're best off to use some type of a stainless steel container, like Hydro flasks are really good. Just wanted to kind of note that, but keep your child well hydrated with pure water, and drinking plenty of water when you're traveling too. Never soda. Soda will actually dehydrate the body. If you're drinking a diet soda and you think, well, it doesn't have sugar in it, because of course you want to avoid the sugars and the other ones, you're getting a lot of the other chemicals and often aspartame. So neither are good choices. Besides water, regular water, coconut water is very hydrating and good for the body too. And I've also linked, I'll link in the show notes, to some really good quality water filters. And one is even a pitcher that you can take with you when you're traveling, because sometimes if we're traveling by car, we're able to use this very, very high quality filter. You can fill it up, especially if you're RVing. If you're camping, you can take it with you to filter the water in the campground, because it's usually bad tap water, which most is. And then be able to have some good quality water with you and not have to always be purchasing water too, and those adding to the plastic bottle issue. If you'd like to increase your child's energy somewhat and help them, also helping their detoxification pathways, CoQ10 or ubiquinol, which is the really highly absorbent form of CoQ10, is very, very helpful with cellular energy. And I did an entire episode with Dr. Fran Kendall on mitochondria dysfunction in autism. And if you haven't listened to that, I will link to it in the show notes. I highly recommend that you listen to it, because mitochondria is a big issue with autism. And it can make us, anybody who has it, really fatigued. It can add to constipation because the muscles are weak and the cells aren't giving enough energy to the muscles to have them get the strength. And so the bowel walls are made of, the muscle isn't strong enough to push the bowel through. So there are a lot of really healthy, great benefits to taking CoQ10 ubiquinol. And one is, again, mitochondria. So I'll link to that in the show notes for you. Of course, try to get plenty of sleep and adequate, again, hydration. Really important to stay hydrated. Sunscreens. Now, a lot of us, many, people are using, sunscreen that is over the counter, but there's so many bad chemicals in commercial sunscreens. So you want to purchase one that is free of, the major toxins, but I know there can be a long list of those. So I'll link to one. Jason is one company that makes a nice natural kids sunscreen with SPF 45, and it doesn't have any of the toxins in it. Sunbum's product is good. The lotion is good as well, because you want to prevent sunburn, but you don't want to be adding in chemicals to your child's body, because our kids are very toxic. And by putting some toxic lotions or sunscreen, same if you use shampoo, whatever shampoos and soaps you use, you want to make sure that they're chemical free or free of the harmful chemicals, because they can add to toxicity in the body. There are a lot of endocrine disruptors that affect our hormones. Most of us don't think how much those things are absorbed by our skin, but it literally gets into our bloodstream within seconds after putting it on our skin. And again, commercial sunscreen has multiple harmful chemicals in it. So stick to the ones from quality health food stores, know how to read your labels. But again, I'll link to Jason, again, makes a nice one that is chemical free and for kids, great for sensitive skin, and it works really well. Sunbum makes a good lotion that is also healthy as well. And you might notice your child will have sometimes some oppositional defiance disorder. So sometimes it's a good way to just work with them when they, when your child will not do what you're asking them to do. You could say, you can give them a choice. And this makes them feel more in control. So they don't need to be or feel the need to be as defiant. You can say, well, you can either do it or you can not do it. And then just wait and see what they do. This is a very interesting little experiment to do at home anytime, just to see how your child reacts, because it removes the control issue from the situation, giving them the option and making them feel more in control. And usually if you wait, they will act. So just try it. It's very interesting. On a biological level, of course, there are always underlying, again, allergies, toxins, co-infections, food allergies. There's a lot of things that can create toxicity that will create these types of behaviors. So on a biological level, I just want to let you know too that things like oppositional defiance disorder can really be triggered by heavy metal toxicity, which is one of the many things that heavy metal toxicity can do. Again, anger and outbursts are very common with that too. But I've got a great episode that I've done in the past where I interviewed an expert, and the title is Toxic Heavy Metals Linked to Severe Autistic Behaviors. And I will link to that in the show notes, and helping you learn a lot about also why you want to use natural, safe heavy metal detoxification, which is always what I use, and why not to use DMSA and the things that the doctors will give you, because they do allow for reabsorption of those toxins as they are trying to be excreted from the body. So they release it back into the body, and they can also remove the calcium and magnesium and some of the really good minerals in our body that we need and our kids are already deficient in. So it's really important to do these things. And I'll also give some additional related posts, 7 tips to help create calm for children with autism and their parents, tools to help calm anxiety, at-home allergy reduction kits, as I mentioned, autism, anxiety, and craniosacral therapy, and then on-the-go healthy snacks, which is another recent one that I did for you in this time when we're getting into the beginning of traveling again for summer, and any time throughout the year you're traveling, going places, or basically for your child, maybe even going to school and you need some snack tips. They're handy as well. So I hope this is helpful for you. I really want you to enjoy your summer and all of your travels always. And make sure, number one, most importantly, you're having fun. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.